All right, ladies and gentlemen, right now, you must be seeing my screen. Much love to you guys. I just want to show you guys this, talk a little bit about Justice League. And as you can see from the title, there's a little bit more elaboration on what DC's doing with their characters, right? So in the screen in front of you, you should be seeing Superman from the CW. You should be seeing all the different Superman here. And we even have Superman from Injustice 2 here. So I just wanted to show you guys something. But before I do, let me just read this quick piece of scripture for you guys before I go into anything else. It's Psalms 51. It says in verse 14, "Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O God, thou God of my salvation, and my tongue shall sing aloud of your righteousness." I just want to stop right there. I want to add also, "Then will I teach transgressors your ways, and sinners shall be converted unto you." See, just very briefly, David is talking about something he just did. He committed an act of murder. He killed Uriah the Hittite. He was a murderer. But Nathan the prophet was able to highlight that to him, even though he was the only person in the whole wide world who knew what he did. Bathsheba, the woman he had an affair with, she didn't know what he did. The head general of his army didn't know what he was really doing, didn't know why he was doing it. He alone, but God didn't allow him to get away with that. And so Nathan the prophet pointed out to him what he did. And David went into repentance. But not only that, he felt guilty about what he did. And he was asking the Lord to free him of his guilt. And anything you have in your past, if you have a past which you are guilty of, or you feel guilty about certain things you've done in your past, atrocious things. I mean, this guy committed murder, okay? Even so, you can speak to the Lord about it and turn away from that way. David never went back to killing anybody or even near to what he did before. He turned one time from it, and he asked the Lord to have mercy on him, and he repented heavily. In fact, he wrote this song for the entire of Israel to hear. And this song, it's basically a song. Songs are songs. He didn't go into the specifics of what happened, but he does talk about this, and he says, he wants to be able to share this with other people who have transgressed like he did, and or better or worse, to show them there's hope at the end of the channel, and that God can actually pull you away from those things and transform your life. All right. And basically, Rebirth Comics is about the rebirth of Superman. So I thought that was pretty awesome that I could even go there. I think the main character that we'll be looking at is Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is the character who needed that redemption, because he also had guilt. And in the end, he was free to kind of have a clean slate and move forward. He was feeling guilty about killing Superman because he felt he had killed Superman. Anyway, let's get into what I want to talk to you guys about, which is the DC Comics and what they're really doing. DC is really trying to do across the board. As I said before, they're trying to unify their characters, particularly for their comic books. And now a lot of people will say, well, but when you look at the video games, which I left out, the video game part of it, that they're not really trying to do that. There's a lot of variation in how the characters appear and even their morals. Well, Injustice is a difference. It's an Elseworld story. So Superman's not quite the Superman we know. So you can't really look at Injustice as the be all or end all. But even so, if you look at the Injustice Superman right now, compared to the other Superman, he still follows that same logic of how they appear. Okay. They all appear more or less the same. He's more armored up. Of course, there's many different variations of this Superman you can have in Injustice. Dress him accordingly, arm him up many different ways. But at the end of the day, the core of who Superman is he basically looks like this, which is basically this. Okay. So just a side note, that's an Elseworld comic. Injustice is Elseworld more than anything else, but it doesn't matter. It's another world even and all of that. And this Crisis on Infinite Earths, which also has a video game to it. All right. And if you look at the Crisis on Infinite Earths Superman, it very much looks like these Superman you see here. Okay. Which is based off of the new 52 model anyway. Now let's look at Batman. So here's Batman. I didn't discuss Batman at any point in time, but this is Batman in his tech suit in this case. And you see him leaping through the air. This is Batman in Justice League Action. And as you can see, the same sort of formation. I love this classic formation he has with the cape and how he even leaps off of the cape. I love to see Batman leap anywhere with that cape, man. They did a fantastic job with the cape work, how it flaps and everything. It's just really sick. And here you see Batman from Justice League, and here is Batman from Justice League Action. Really awesome. And we can compare the two and contrast them. Of course, he's in the typical suit. He's not in a mech suit there. But still, it's just so interesting to see them leap almost the same way and everything. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. And here is Batman from the Rebirth comics. And again, they all basically have a standardized appearance. They all look more or less the same. There's some variations in the outfit and the costume and everything, but for the most part, all three Batman look about the same. In fact, this looks even like Ben Affleck. This Batman even looks like Ben Affleck. Big, strong, robust looking, buff looking Batman. And then Wonder Woman, again, uniformity throughout the comics since the Wonder Woman movie. There's been a uniformity, especially with the Rebirth series and the Justice League action. I particularly paid attention to those because they're Rebirth. But you also have a variation of Wonder Woman in the Injustice games, in which, again, it's absolutely the outfit that Wonder Woman wears in the movie. But even the Injustice games version of Wonder Woman has some vague resemblance to the outfit that Wonder Woman has. Of course, there again, in the Injustice game, multiple different versions of the outfit you can have. So, you know, but I'm just saying the video game even does that. Now, you also have the Batman Telltale series, which I forgot, which kind of more resembles the mech suit Batman that we see here. Okay. And it's sort of like a crossover between the mech suit Batman and also Batman from the Dark Knight trilogy. Okay. All right. So when we're looking at the Justice League, these are the Justice League members. And even in Injustice, they have versions of them that actually come over from the movie. We call them movie template versions. And so, you know, so we have the movie version of the Flash, which is here. You see the movie version, the mech suit of Batman, which is here. We have the movie version of Wonder Woman. We have a sort of quasi movie version of Cyborg, how he transforms certain limbs, but it doesn't really look, more looks like Cyborg at the end. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And of course, we got the Aquaman version of Aquaman here, the suit at least, not the appearance necessarily. Okay. So when we look at the Flash now, because I remember talking to another guy and he was talking about this different variations of the Flash, and I was saying it's not that, it's that DC is working towards a version of the Flash that is uniform throughout all storyboards. That means the Lego version of the Flash will resemble the TV version of the Flash, will resemble the movie version of the Flash, will resemble the animated version of the Flash, which will eventually resemble the comic book version of the Flash. They want one Flash. They don't want to say, oh, this is Flash from Earth 2 or Flash from Earth 3. No, all these stories are in the same universe. They're in the same world. It's not a multiverse thing. People saying the CW Flash is different to the, no, not necessarily. All right. And that's very important to understand. I know that the CW Flash is moving from universe to universe, but I think DC is really going for uniformity. And then we'll have characters in different other movies, in different other universes, multiverses. But I don't think they're really going, they were really trying to get a uniform look, first of all, to all the characters. You can see it with Wonder Woman. The first three, which are their storylines are pretty much fully filled out now. You can see that the first three, they fit in and they actually appear like the DC Comics version. And remember, the DC Comics version that we saw is actually what we saw in the beginning, the introduction to Wonder Woman and introduction to Justice League. We've gotten that DC appearance, and that's what they're going for. Jeff Johns and company, that's what they're going for. That's why they have the Rebirth. They're really trying to get these characters to look like and appear and behave like the comic book characters, because we want to sell comic books, right? All right, so you got these different versions of the Flash. Yes, of course, they all resemble the Flash, what the Flash is and epitomizes. And especially in the Injustice game, you can get a version of the Flash that looks like the Justice League version we saw. Now, the Flash, people were thinking that the Flash was probably going to change his outfit, his clothing, etc. But that is not the case. Let me just hold on a second there, folks. Let me just see what's up. Okay, so you guys are seeing what I am seeing. Just wanted to check and see. Hide. Good. All right, let me go back to what I was saying. So when you look at the Flash, they're trying to get uniformity. Of course, there are basic things that resemble the Flash throughout all of the Flash uniforms, but they're really looking to get that uniformity with the Flash, and they'll get there. They'll get there. So just remember that. And also, if you look here carefully, there are many different versions of the Flash besides these versions that are current, but we're talking about the current versions of the Flash. This is the Rebirth Flash. This is the Flash from the Lego movie. This is the Flash from animated version of the Flash. Actually, the animated version of the Flash that is actually current is in Justice League Action. So I didn't really have that copy. I should have updated that for this video, but that's okay. But pretty much the Flash resembles his comic book counterpart for Justice League action. All right, so like I said before, the Flash, when you look at the Flash, in Injustice game, you can get the Justice League movie skin for him. So that's what you see him wearing with the Justice League movie skin. And you can have other skins for Justice League movie characters like Batman and Aquaman, as you see here. Also Cyborg. And this is Aquaman with the Justice League movie skin on, or what we call it Justice League movie gear. These two. All right. And notice this trident is the trident from the Justice League movie. That is not the trident he will eventually have. The trident he eventually has is the trident of Neptune, aka the trident of Poseidon, which is a totally different trident, which we'll see in the Aquaman movie, which, by the way, if you look at his dress in the Aquaman movie, it's interesting that it kind of resembles this dress here. It's much more spikier, bigger, chunkier dress, which you will see in a bit. And this is from Justice League. This is Injustice here. This is the Aquaman that appears in Injustice. And again, he has tattoos and stuff. Kind of resembles Jason Momoa's character somewhat. And this is the Rebirth series comics Aquaman. There is an alternate version to him, which is this, which more resembles Jason Momoa's version. But by and large, I do believe this is the version that Rebirth is trying to push, which is what we see in the beginning when we see the logos for the Justice League, the DC Comics logo, seeing all the cast, the whole available world of Justice League people in there. They're going for that now. And like I said before, their thrust is towards the comics, the comic books. This is why they did that logo for Wonder Woman, and this is why they did the logo for Justice League. And finally, Cyborg. Cyborg, this is how he looks in at the end of the Justice League movie, not in the beginning. And it's interesting because this Cyborg sort of meshes in with the Rebirth Cyborg. This is the Rebirth Cyborg right here. And also meshes in somewhat, kind of loosely, to the Cyborg in Injustice. Okay, this Cyborg looks a lot more clunkier, and he's got more moving parts, kind of almost like the Cyborg before. And this is the Cyborg, which is much more chunkier in Justice League action. So he's a little bit different as well to all the Cyborgs we've seen. The Justice League action has a different version of Cyborg here. But then they probably just pulled it off of the Cartoon Network Cyborg from Teen Titans. So maybe that's what we're seeing. But in Injustice, this is Injustice, not Injustice 2. We've seen Cyborg there. And there he is in all his splendor. And looks just like Cyborg from the television series. You also have an Injustice, by the way. You had Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman from Batman v Superman. Okay. And this is the Superman. This is Batman with the tech suit. Kind of also, Batman's mech suit actually reminds me of Injustice Batman as well. And you have Injustice 2 Batman. So everything's feeding off everything, right? And this is the Injustice 2 Cyborg that they have, which is based off of BVS. Not BVS, sorry, Justice League. Sorry, my bad. So it's just a nice roundabout circle. It's kind of going full circle how DC's kind of doing their things. Of course, with the Injustice movie, you have a lot of variety. You can do many different things with the characters and how they appear and look. And of course, the characters are following different storylines that don't necessarily follow along our universe storyline, but they still have certain attributes of the characters that they usually have as characters, right? Wonder Woman is still kind of Wonder Woman, but just she's her morals and stuff is kind of twisted. This is why it's strange to hear people say, well, Superman doesn't do that. You play Injustice game. Come on now. You must know that Superman has a breaking point. When the Joker killed Lois Lane and the baby, Superman snapped. So don't tell me Superman can't snap. It's always been that way. Even if you look at Superman 1978, Superman, again, he lost it when Lois died. And he went back, he turned the world around. Lois is sort of the key that grounds Superman to our world. It's always been that way in the comics, and it's always, well, more or less, unless you're dealing with Superman, Wonder Woman, right? Comics. But for the most part, for the comics and so on, Superman's generally been grounded to Earth because of Lois Lane.